Imagine this. It's the early 2000s and rock music is in one of its wildest eras, a mix of raw indie sound and stadium-level swagger. Then, out of the American South, four guys with shaggy hair, deep drawls, and a whole lot of attitude burst onto the scene. Their name? Kings of Leon. Their sound? Something between Southern grit and rock royalty. But here's the real question. Have you ever wondered who the Kings of Leon actually are? And more importantly, where did that royal-sounding name even come from? Stick around, because today we're diving deep into the story behind the Followill family. A story of preachers, road trips, and a joke that turned into one of the most recognizable rock anthems of the 21st century. And trust me, it's a good one. So before they were headlining massive festivals and giving us songs like Sex on Fire and Use Somebody, the Followill brothers, Caleb, Jared, and Nathan, were growing up in a very different kind of world. Their dad, Ivan Leon Followill, wasn't a record producer or a band manager. Nope. He was a Pentecostal preacher who spent years traveling across the Deep South, spreading the word of God with his family in tow. Picture it. Endless highways, small-town churches, fiery sermons, and three little boys sitting in the front pew while their dad preached his heart out. And that's where it all started. The Followill kids were raised on gospel rhythms and Southern soul long before they ever picked up electric guitars. But when their father retired from preaching, and after their parents divorced in 1997, life took a big turn. Nathan and Caleb moved to Nashville, Tennessee, the heart of American music. Nashville has this way of transforming people. It's the city where country roots meet rock and roll rebellion, and for the Followills, it became the birthplace of their destiny. They decided to form a band, though at first it wasn't exactly a clear-cut plan. They bought their younger brother Jared a bass guitar, despite the fact he didn't really know how to play yet. And later, they kidnapped their cousin Matthew from Mississippi to round out the lineup. Yes, kidnapped, or at least that's how they like to joke about it. Matthew joined them, and just like that, the family was complete. Now, with three brothers and a cousin making up the group, they needed a name, something that reflected who they were and where they came from. They didn't overthink it. Their father's middle name was Leon, and their grandfather's name was also Leon. So naturally, they called themselves the Kings of Leon, a literal homage to their family roots. It wasn't about royalty or ego. It was about lineage, about honoring where they came from while carving out their own space in the world. And man, did they ever. When their debut album Youth and Young Manhood dropped in 2003, critics described them as Southern fried strokes, scruffy, loud, and full of swagger. They had that raw garage energy mixed with Southern soul that made them stand out in the early 2000s rock revival. Songs like Molly's Chambers and Red Morning Light became instant hits, especially in the UK, where fans went crazy for their sound. But let's be honest, the real cultural explosion happened a few years later with Only by the Night in 2008. That album gave us Use Somebody and, of course, Sex on Fire, a song so massive it became the anthem of every party. Every festival, every karaoke night for years. Now, here's where it gets interesting. You might assume that a song like Sex on Fire came from some steamy, poetic inspiration, right? Wrong. The title actually started as a complete joke. The band had this melody they were working on but no lyrics yet. So during recording, they started throwing around random phrases to fill the space. First it was Set Us on Fire, then Snatch on Fire, then, hilariously, Cocks on Fire. You can imagine the laughter in the studio. Eventually they landed on Sex on Fire, still meant as a joke, but something about it just stuck. It rolled off the tongue, it sounded dangerous, and it perfectly matched the wild energy of the track, so what started as a throwaway line became one of the biggest rock songs of the 2000s. Sometimes, lightning really does strike by accident. In an interview with Radio X, drummer Nathan Followill even joked about how they had to make the song kid-friendly for their families. "It's socks on fire," he said, laughing. "Uncle Caleb's socks caught on fire one night when I was drying them out on the heater." And Caleb, always the more reflective one, chimed in, saying, "I think that song is the least of our worries. We have much bigger things to tackle than Sex on Fire." Nathan quickly added, "They won't listen to Taper Jean Girl, ever." Clearly, there are some Kings of Leon songs that are just not suitable for the Followill family road trip playlist. What's funny is how that song changed everything for them. Sex on Fire catapulted the band into global stardom. It won them a Grammy, topped charts around the world and became the kind of song that defines a generation. But it also came with growing pains. The band, who'd started as this tight-knit family unit, suddenly found themselves under immense pressure. Fame, tours, internal tensions, it all took its toll. Still, through all the ups and downs, the Kings of Leon never lost sight of their roots. Their story is proof that sometimes the best things come from humble beginnings. A family, a name, a joke that becomes a legend. Over 2 decades later, they're still going strong. They've evolved from scrappy Southern rockers to seasoned arena veterans, but that family bond, that Followill connection, remains at the heart of it all. They've shown the world that being kings isn't about crowns or castles. It's about staying true to who you are, even when the spotlight's blinding. And let's be real, even if you're not a die-hard fan, chances are you've screamed, "You? Your sex is on fire!" at least once in your life. That's the kind of cultural impact these guys have had. So the next time you hear that unmistakable riff kick in, remember, behind the fame, behind the wild stories, there's a family from the American South who took their grandfather's name and turned it into rock history. The Kings of Leon didn't just make music. They built a legacy out of blood, sweat, and one unforgettable joke. And if you enjoyed this dive into their story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the untold stories of music's biggest icons. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next, because just like the Kings of Leon themselves, the stories behind the music, they're absolutely on fire.